Blood ran down Commander Aaron Vale's arm and dripped onto the polished floor of the alien palace, each drop echoing louder than it should have. The sound followed him like a countdown. He should not have been alive. He definitely should not have been walking. And yet, he was here, standing in the heart of the most powerful empire in the known galaxy, directly beneath the gaze of an alien queen whose attention alone had ended civilizations. The hall was vast beyond reason. The ceiling curved so high it looked like open space, filled with slow-moving lights that mimicked distant stars. Alien nobles lined the sides, tall, scaled, luminous, or mechanical, their whispers rippling like static through the air. None of them expected a human to reach this place. Humans were supposed to break long before this point. Aaron's boots slipped slightly on the smooth surface. He caught himself on instinct, pain exploding up his side. His ribs were cracked, maybe worse. His left shoulder barely responded anymore. Every breath felt sharp, like his lungs were scraping against glass. Still, he kept moving. At the far end of the hall, elevated on a platform of dark crystal, sat Queen Zyra of the Lithari Dominion. She did not rise. She did not need to. Her presence pressed down on the room like gravity itself. Her skin shimmered in shifting shades of deep blue and silver, and her eyes, bright, ancient, calculating, locked onto Aaron the moment he crossed the final threshold. The room went silent. Aaron stopped several steps short of the platform. His knees shook, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He forced himself upright anyway. Humans had learned a long time ago that posture mattered, especially when everything else was falling apart. Queen Zyra studied him without speaking. Her gaze traced every torn seam of his uniform, every burn mark, every blood-soaked bandage that had failed hours ago. She did not look disgusted. She looked focused. "You are injured," she finally said. Her voice was calm, melodic, and carried effortlessly through the massive hall. "Yes," Aaron replied. His voice was rough, but steady. "I noticed." A ripple of quiet reaction moved through the alien court. Humor was not expected, especially not from a dying human. Queen Zyra tilted her head slightly. "You stand before me after crossing 3 restricted systems, surviving 2 interception fleets, and walking unescorted into my palace. Logic suggests you should not be capable of humor." "Logic and humans don't get along very well," Aaron said. "We tolerate each other at best." A few nobles shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned in. The Queen's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but curiosity. "Who harmed you?" she asked. Aaron hesitated. Not because he was afraid to answer, but because the answer was complicated. He swallowed, steadying his breathing. "The Varkoon Coalition," he said. "What's left of them?" That name changed the air in the room. The Varkoon were feared even among alien empires, raiders, slavers, executioners who specialized in breaking species publicly to discourage resistance. Queen Zyra's fingers tightened slightly on the arm of her throne. "The Varkoon were neutralized cycles ago." "They were supposed to be," Aaron replied. "Turns out they don't like extinction. Makes them rude." Silence returned, heavier than before. "You faced them alone?" the Queen asked. "No," Aaron said honestly. "I faced them last." The words hung there. He shifted his weight, pain flaring again. Memories pushed forward despite his effort to keep them buried. Human ships burning in orbit, emergency signals cutting out one by one, civilians shielding children with their own bodies, knowing it wouldn't be enough. Humans didn't have the numbers. They never did. What they had was refusal. Queen Zyra stood. The motion was slow, deliberate, and it froze the entire court. She descended the steps of her platform until she stood only a few meters from Aaron. Up close, her presence was overwhelming. Power radiated from her like heat. "You are bleeding on my floor," she said quietly. "Sorry," Aaron replied. "I can clean it up later. If I'm still alive." She looked directly into his eyes now. Not through him. Not past him. At him. "You crossed the galaxy to reach me," she said. "Not for safety. Not for mercy. Why?" Aaron exhaled slowly. "Because humans are tired of being hunted quietly. We tried treaties. We tried isolation. We tried disappearing into the corners of space. It didn't work. His hands clenched at his sides. So I came here instead. A low murmur spread through the nobles. You expect my protection? Queen Zyra asked. No, Anne said. I expect your attention. That stopped everything. The Queen studied him again, but now her gaze had changed. It lingered on his wounds, but not as weaknesses. As evidence. You are one human, she said. Your species is fractured, outnumbered, and technologically inferior to half the powers in this room. I know, Anne replied. We checked the charts too. And yet, she continued, you survived the Varkoon. Aaron's jaw tightened. We survived long enough. Queen Zyra slowly circled him. Each step echoed. You should be afraid. I was, Anne admitted. Then I ran out of energy for it. She stopped in front of him again. Her eyes glowed faintly. Your wounds, she said softly, tell a story. One of persistence. Of refusal. Of loss. Aaron didn't answer. He didn't trust his voice anymore. Queen Zyra straightened. When she spoke again, her voice carried authority that reached far beyond the palace walls. Summon the High Council, she ordered. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Prepare a full galactic broadcast, she continued. All major powers. All neutral systems. All watchers. Her gaze returned to Aaron. The galaxy will see what was done to you, she said. And they will answer for it. Aaron's legs finally gave out. He dropped to one knee, barely catching himself. That, he said weakly, was faster than expected. Queen Zyra raised a hand. Medical drones descended immediately, surrounding him with soft light and controlled gravity. You will live, she said. Long enough to witness the consequences. As consciousness began to fade, Aaron allowed himself one final thought. Humans were never the strongest, but they were very good at being noticed. And now, the entire galaxy was watching. Commander Aaron Vale woke to silence that felt engineered. Not the empty quiet of space, nor the familiar hum of human medbays, but something cleaner, controlled. The kind of silence that meant nothing was allowed to exist without permission. He opened his eyes slowly. Above him, curved panels of translucent crystal shifted color in soft pulses, adjusting to his heartbeat. Thin bands of light hovered around his torso and limbs, holding his broken body perfectly still. Pain was still there, but distant now, dulled into a low echo instead of a scream. So, Aaron muttered, his throat dry. Either I'm alive, or this is the nicest afterlife I could have hoped for. You are alive, a calm voice replied. Though statistically, you should not be. Aaron turned his head with effort. Queen Zyra stood near the edge of the chamber, her silhouette framed by a window that looked out into open space. Massive ships drifted beyond the palace like silent giants, their hulls marked with symbols of dozens of civilizations. Disappointing, Aaron said. I was hoping for something simpler. The Queen regarded him for a moment. Humans often say such things while fighting to survive. It is contradictory. Yeah, Anne said. We're good at that. She stepped closer. The medical field adjusted automatically, responding to her presence. Your injuries are severe, she said. Bone fractures, internal trauma, neural stress. You continued long past what most species consider fatal. Humans have flexible definitions, Anne replied. Especially when quitting isn't an option. Queen Zyra studied the light projections displaying his vitals. Your biology is inefficient, fragile, and yet, your species continues to defy extinction. That's our special talent, Anne said quietly. Annoying the universe. The corner of her mouth twitched. The galactic broadcast has begun. Aaron stiffened despite the restraints. Already. The High Council attempted to delay, she said. I declined. The chamber darkened. The window transformed into a massive holographic display. One by one, symbols ignited across its surface, empires, coalitions, neutral systems, observers who rarely spoke and never intervened. Hundreds became thousands. The galaxy was listening. Queen Zyra raised her hand, and the room shifted again. The medical display magnified, projecting Aaron's injuries outward in stark clarity. Every burn, every fracture, every scar layered over older ones. A collective reaction rippled through the feed. Some species recoiled. Others leaned forward. A few recorded in absolute silence. "This human," Queen Zyra said, her voice carrying flawlessly across light years, "stands accused of nothing." She paused. He was attacked. Hunted. His people were targeted not for conquest, but convenience. Aaron swallowed. He hadn't expected this part to hurt. "The Varkoon Coalition violated accords older than many of you," she continued. "They enslaved human colonies. They broadcast executions as warnings. They assumed weakness was the same as insignificance." Her gaze hardened. They were incorrect. A sharp surge of pain flared in Aaron's chest, not physical, but emotional. Memories surfaced uninvited. He saw Captain Mora laughing in the command pit before the breach alarms. Saw engineers sealing doors they knew wouldn't hold. Saw a child hand him a data chip and ask if it would save everyone. Queen Zyra's voice cut through the haze. "This human crossed the galaxy alone," she said. "Not to beg. Not to threaten. But to ensure that someone powerful enough would witness what was done." Murmurs erupted across the feed. Aaron forced himself to speak. "I didn't come for revenge," he said hoarsely. The Queen glanced at him. "No," she agreed. "You came for acknowledgement." He nodded faintly. "If the galaxy was going to ignore us, I figured I'd make that difficult." A low, unfamiliar sound spread through the chamber. Laughter, quiet, restrained, from beings who rarely found humor in defiance. Queen Zyra turned back to the broadcast. "The Varkoon remnants have been located," she said. "Scattered. Hiding. Believing themselves forgotten." Her hand closed into a fist. "They will not be forgotten." Symbols shifted. Star maps appeared. Red markers blinked into existence across multiple systems. "I invoke the Accord of Witness," she declared. "Any power observing this broadcast is now complicit in what follows." The reaction was immediate. Several empires protested. Others fell silent. A few transmitted approval codes without hesitation. Aaron stared at the display, stunned. "You're rewriting the rules." Queen Zyra looked down at him. "No. I am reminding the galaxy why they exist." Medical drones adjusted again as his heart rate spiked. "This is bigger than me," Aaron said. "Bigger than humans." "Yes," she replied. "But it started with you." The broadcast shifted once more. A new feed appeared, live footage from a ruined Varkoon outpost. Fires burned in vacuum-sealed corridors. Emergency beacons screamed unanswered. Queen Zyra did not smile. "Your species believes strength is measured in domination," she said. "Mine believes it is measured in consequence." She leaned closer to Aaron. "And humans," she added softly, "appear to specialize in surviving long enough to force consequence." Aaron closed his eyes briefly. "We didn't plan this." "No," she said. "You endured it." A message flashed across the display. Confirmed sightings, coalition fleets mobilizing, ancient treaties reactivated. Systems that hadn't spoken in centuries were suddenly choosing sides. The galaxy was shifting. Queen Zyra straightened. "You will remain under my protection," she said. "Not as a prisoner. Not as a symbol." She looked at him directly. "As a catalyst." Aaron let out a slow breath. "You realize humans are going to misunderstand this." "I hope so," she replied. "Misunderstanding often leads to curiosity. Curiosity leads to change." The chamber lights softened as the broadcast ended. Silence returned, but it was no longer empty. Aaron stared up at the ceiling, exhaustion finally winning. "If this starts a war," he murmured, "I'm blaming you." Queen Zyra turned toward the stars. If this ends one, she said, history will blame you. As consciousness pulled him under again, Aaron realized something unsettling. Humans had finally been noticed. And attention, in a galaxy like this, was the most dangerous weapon of all. Aaron dreamed of gravity failing at the worst possible moment. He was running, always running, down a corridor that kept rearranging itself, doors sliding away just as he reached them. Every time he stumbled, the floor softened like liquid glass, refusing to let him fall or stand. Somewhere far away, alarms howled in languages he didn't understand, but the meaning was always the same. Too late. Too slow. He woke with a sharp inhale. This time, the silence felt different. Not sterile. Watchful. The medical field loosened slightly as his consciousness returned. Pain crept back in layers, manageable but persistent, like his body was reminding him not to get comfortable. You are improving, a voice said. Not Queen Zyra's. Aaron turned his head. Standing near the far wall was a tall figure wrapped in pale segmented armor, its face hidden behind a smooth mask etched with faint geometric symbols. And you are? Aaron asked. Archivist Seluan, the figure replied. Observer class. I record events the galaxy prefers to forget. Lucky me, Aaron muttered. I always wanted an audience. Seluan inclined its head. Your species is already trending across multiple data streams. Aaron blinked. Trending. Yes, Seluan said. Curiosity spikes. Debate. Fear. Admiration. Confusion. Your survival has disrupted predictive models. Aaron stared at the ceiling. Humans do that a lot. The chamber shifted again. Walls became transparent, revealing a circular observation deck overlooking the palace's inner ring. Dozens of alien officials moved along elevated walkways, their movements sharp, tense. Holographic projections flickered constantly, displaying fleet movements, political statements, emergency summits. The galaxy wasn't just watching anymore. It was reacting. Queen Zyra entered without ceremony. The room responded instantly, lights aligning, systems stabilizing, even Seluan straightening slightly. Commander Vale, she said. You will be able to stand soon. That's unfortunate, Aaron replied. I was enjoying not being responsible for anything. Her gaze flicked to Seluan. Report. The accord has fractured into 3 interpretations, Seluan said. Some powers claim moral obligation. Others call this manipulation. A minority believe the human presence indicates an emerging threat. Aaron snorted. That didn't take long. Queen Zyra's eyes narrowed. Threats require intent. Seluan paused. Humans are unclear. That's fair, Aaron said. We're unclear to ourselves. Zyra turned to him. Your species does not behave like the others. Because we're new. Aaron asked. No, she replied. Because you fail loudly. That got his attention. You broadcast mistakes, she continued. You mourn publicly. You argue with yourselves in ways that expose weakness. Most species hide failure. Aaron considered that. We tried hiding once. Didn't help. She gestured, and a hologram formed between them. It showed human worlds, small, scattered, fragile-looking against the vastness of space. Then it overlaid projections, migration paths, emergency evacuations, last stands. You should not exist, Queen Zyra said calmly. Statistically. Yeah, Aaron said softly. We hear that a lot. The Varkoon targeted you because you were inconvenient, she continued. You adapted. You learned their patterns. You used obsolete ships to bait advanced fleets. You sacrificed territory to save people. Aaron closed his eyes. Those weren't victories. No, Zyra said. They were choices. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed something unexpected, alien simulations. Dozens of them. Each labeled with different species names. After the broadcast, Seluan added, Multiple civilizations ran historical comparisons. They found a pattern. Zyra looked at Aaron. Whenever humans are cornered, they stop competing with each other. Aaron frowned. That's not entirely true. It is, Selwyn said. Your internal conflicts diminish during extinction-level events. You unify inefficiently, emotionally, but completely. Aaron exhaled slowly. We don't like bullies. That, Zyra said, is why the galaxy is unsettled. She waved a hand, dismissing the holograms. Several powers have requested access to you. Aaron's eyes snapped open. Access. Interviews. Biological studies. Psychological analysis. Strategic inquiry. No, Aaron said immediately. Absolutely not. The Queen studied him. You refuse. I'm not a resource, he said. I'm not a warning sign. And I'm definitely not a lab sample. Selwyn tilted its head. Your refusal is noted. Zyra nodded. It will stand. That surprised him. You're not even going to argue. I did not bring you here to be dissected, she said. I brought you here to be understood. She stepped closer. And understanding requires consent. Aaron let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Thank you. Do not mistake this for kindness, she added. It is strategy. Of course it is, he said. Humans respect that. A sudden alarm chimed through the chamber. Not loud, urgent. Selwyn turned sharply. Varcoon transmission detected. The hologram flared to life. A distorted image appeared, a Varcoon commander, scarred and furious, surrounded by flickering static. You overreach, Queen, the creature hissed. One human does not justify. The transmission cut abruptly. Queen Zyra lowered her hand. They are afraid, Selwyn observed. Aaron pushed against the medical field. For the first time, it allowed him to sit up. His muscles protested, but they held. They should be, he said. Zyra turned to him. This is the moment where most species demand vengeance. Aaron shook his head. That's not what we want. What do humans want? She asked. He thought of burned colonies. Of evacuation ships packed beyond capacity. Of people who never made it out. We want them to stop, he said. Not just the Varcoon. Anyone who thinks wiping out smaller voices is efficient. The Queen was silent for a long moment. You are asking for a change in galactic behavior, she said. Yeah, Aaron replied. We're bad at small requests. Selwyn's voice softened slightly. Your species is dangerous. Aaron met its gaze. Only when pushed. Queen Zyra straightened, decision settling over her like armor. Then the next step will test you, she said. Test how? Aaron asked. She gestured toward the stars beyond the palace. The galaxy will not be convinced by words alone. Aaron nodded slowly. It never is. You will speak again, she said. But this time, not as a victim. He raised an eyebrow. Then what? As proof, Queen Zyra replied. Outside the palace, fleets aligned. Ancient powers adjusted positions. And far across the galaxy, species that had never cared about humans began asking a dangerous question. What happens if we make them choose? The chamber that prepared Commander Aaron Vale for his next appearance was not a courtroom. It was worse. The room floated at the core of the palace like a suspended thought. No walls, no ceiling, only a circular platform surrounded by layered holographic rings. Each ring represented a listening civilization. Thousands of them. Some were bright and close, projecting sharp, confident symbols. Others were dim, distant, cautious. A few pulsed slowly, ancient and unreadable. Aaron stood at the center. For the first time since entering the palace, he was on his feet without support. His body protested every movement. The medics had done what they could, but humans healed slowly compared to most species. Still, he stood, slightly hunched. one arm held close to his side. But standing. Queen Zyra watched from a raised platform nearby. She did not speak. She did not need to. The galaxy already knew this moment mattered. Seluan's voice echoed softly. This assembly is unscheduled, unprecedented, and irreversible. Aaron glanced sideways. You sure know how to calm a guy down. You have chosen to be here, Seluan replied. Yeah, Aaron said. Humans do that. Choose the hard thing and then complain about it. The rings brightened. A voice cut in, sharp and amplified. Human. Explain why we should care. Aaron looked up. The symbol pulsing above that ring belonged to a trade empire known for abandoning entire client species when profits dipped. He took a slow breath. I'm not here to convince you to care, he said. I'm here because you already do. You're just pretending you don't. A ripple spread through the rings. Some dimmed. Others flared. Another voice followed. You accuse us without authority. Aaron nodded. True. I don't have authority. He paused, then added, I have experience. The projection behind him shifted. Not at Queen Zyra's command, but his. Images appeared. Human evacuation corridors. Makeshift hospitals. Civilian ships retrofitted with armor plates welded on by hand. Not polished. Not heroic. Just desperate. This is what happens when nobody cares, Aaron said. It's messy, inefficient, and very hard to look at. A harsh voice broke in. You are exploiting sympathy. No, Aaron replied. I'm exploiting memory. Yours. The rings stirred. You all have histories like this, he continued. Every one of you. Before you became powerful. Before you had fleets and borders and rules you could enforce. He gestured weakly. You survived because someone noticed you. Silence followed. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Queen Zyra finally spoke. The human is not requesting intervention. Aaron turned to her, surprised. He is issuing a warning, she continued. Your systems are optimized for stability. Humans are optimized for disruption. Aaron gave a tired smile. We break things to see how they work. A new projection appeared, Varcoon movements. Retreat patterns. Defensive clusters. They were running, but not chaotically. They were reorganizing. They're adapting, Aaron said. That's what bullies do when they realize their targets fight back. A cold voice cut in. What would you have us do? Aaron met the projection's gaze. Nothing dramatic. That confused them. Just stop pretending neutrality is harmless, he said. Stop selling weapons to raiders because it's profitable. Stop ignoring distress calls because they're inconvenient. His voice tightened. Stop rewarding cruelty with silence. A long pause followed. Then another voice. Older. Slower. And if we do not? Aaron shrugged carefully. Then humans will remember. The reaction was immediate. Not fear. Calculation. You threaten us? The voice asked. No, Aaron said. We adapt to you. Queen Zyra's eyes glinted. Seluan spoke quietly. Historical models confirm the statement. The chamber buzzed. Quietly. Dangerously. Aaron's legs trembled. He stayed standing. I'm not special, he said. I'm not the strongest human. I'm not even the smartest one in my unit. He swallowed. I'm just the one who made it here. The rings dimmed slightly, focusing inward. When humans don't get help, he continued, we get creative. We don't build the biggest weapons. We build the ones nobody expects. He paused, letting that sink in. And we don't forget who stood aside. Queen Zyra raised her hand. The projections froze. This concludes the human's address, she declared. The rings began to fade, some reluctantly, some rapidly, some with obvious hesitation. When the chamber finally quieted, Aaron exhaled shakily and leaned forward, bracing his hands on his knees. That, he muttered, went better than expected. Queen Zyra descended to stand beside him. You altered probability trajectories, she said. Not enough to guarantee peace. Enough to guarantee attention. That's kind of our brand, Aeon replied. She studied him for a long moment. You are aware that some will now see humans as a long-term threat. Aeon nodded. We're used to that too. Her gaze softened, just slightly. You could have asked for protection. Sanctuary. Weapons. Aeon shook his head. If we need someone else to fight our battles, we've already lost. Silence settled between them. Far beyond the palace, fleets adjusted their positions. Supply lines rerouted. Quiet agreements dissolved. The galaxy was recalculating. Selûan approached. Varkun forces are fracturing. Several allies have withdrawn support. Aeon closed his eyes briefly. Good. But, Selûan added, other powers are preparing contingency plans. Against humans. Aeon opened his eyes again. Also expected. Queen Zyra looked out at the stars. You have given the galaxy a problem it cannot ignore. He smiled faintly. We're very good at that. She turned to him. The final consequence approaches. Aeon straightened as best he could. Then let's finish this. Beyond the palace, the galaxy held its breath. Because humans had spoken. And now, they would have to act. The galaxy did not explode into war. That surprised everyone. Commander Aeron Vale stood on the palace observation deck, wrapped in a simple medical cloak, watching fleets reposition themselves across the starfield. Ships moved with caution now. No sudden advances. No overwhelming shows of force. Just hesitation. The most dangerous phase. Fear has many forms, Queen Zyra said beside him. This one is called restraint. Aeron exhaled slowly. Didn't think we'd scare anyone into thinking. You did not scare them, she replied. You complicated them. Below, massive holographic projections hovered in slow rotation. One by one, systems updated. Trade embargoes against the Varkun. Patrol restrictions. Shared intelligence networks that had never existed before. The bullies were being starved, not hunted. Selûan appeared quietly. Confirmed reports indicate Varkun internal collapse. Command hierarchy has fractured. Several warlords have surrendered to neighboring powers. Aeron closed his eyes for a moment. He didn't smile. There was no satisfaction in it. They'll never admit they were wrong, he said. No, Selûan agreed. But they will survive long enough to remember. Queen Zyra turned to Aeron. Your people will be safer now. For a while, he said. That's usually how it goes. You expect this to end? She asked. Aeron shook his head. No. But now it's louder when it starts again. She considered that. Humans do not seek final solutions. No, Aeron said. We seek better chances. A quiet chime echoed across the deck. An incoming signal, human origin. Selûan projected it without comment. The image was shaky. A woman appeared, hair tied back, dark circles under her eyes. She wore a patched uniform, the emblem half burned away. Commander Vale, she said, disbelief in her voice. You look like hell. Aeron laughed softly. You should see the other guy. Her expression broke into relief. Evacuation routes are holding. We're getting help. Actual help. Not just promises. Aeron swallowed. Good. She hesitated. They're asking about you. Saying you changed things. Aeron shook his head. Tell them I just talked too much. Queen Zyra watched the exchange closely. When the transmission ended, she spoke. You minimize yourself. Someone has to, Aeron replied. Humans get uncomfortable with symbols. And yet, she said, you have become one. Aeron leaned on the railing, staring into the stars. Symbols don't bleed. I do. She stepped closer. You could stay. advise, influence. He considered it. Truly considered it. Then he shook his head. If humans start relying on queens and councils to speak for us, we stop speaking for ourselves. Queen Zyra nodded once. That answer was expected. Selûan tilted its head. Your departure will reduce predictive stability. Yeah, Anne said. That tracks. Medical drones returned, preparing him for transport. His body was still healing, but it would heal better among his own. As the shuttle docked, Queen Zyra walked with him to the entrance. The galaxy will remember this moment, she said. They will remember the wounded human who forced them to look. Aaron paused at the threshold. They should remember something else too. She raised an eyebrow. That we didn't ask to be heroes, he said. We asked to be left alone. And when that didn't work, we adapted. He met her gaze. Next time, there won't be just one of us. Queen Zyra's expression shifted, not fear. Respect. Then the galaxy must learn faster, she said. Aaron stepped onto the shuttle. The doors began to close. As the ship pulled away, the palace shrank behind him, but the stars ahead felt closer than ever. Across dozens of systems, treaties were rewritten. Trade routes shifted. Distress signals were answered more quickly now. Not because humans were powerful, but because humans had proven something far more unsettling. They could endure unimaginable loss, refuse to disappear, and force the universe to acknowledge them, without conquering a single world. And somewhere, deep in the galactic archives, a new classification was quietly added. Humans. Not dominant. Not harmless. Persistent. The galaxy would never forget that lesson. And humanity would make sure it never could.